Okay, good morning. Hello, everyone. So thank you for coming. We are going to talk a little bit of personalized medicine. We are going to have five, six presentations. And we also would like your opinion. So it's a small room. Please feel free to give your comments, ask your questions, okay? So we are trying to make it as informal and as much as collaborative as possible, because science and it's all about collaboration, all about developing and impacting the world. We are getting a couple of things wrong, okay, from my perspective. So so I have 20 minutes. I'm going to set the scene and try to get some, not hard questions, but at least challenging questions. So, but I would like everyone to come on board and discuss them with us. From two reasons. First of all, because the panel is quite diverse. So we have industry from outside Poland, so from the UK. We have Polish companies that are doing biotechnology development and working on the personalized health sector. And we have my team that is doing fundamental research on personalized medicine. And from my perspective, it's really important to capture the mood of the room, because we are looking to a new year. We already have a couple of challenges, but will be a good moment to share and to understand what are the challenges that the industry is facing, how research can come on board as a collaborative partner, because not only we'd like to publish papers, but also would like to have impact in the community and change some of the behaviors that are around us. So that's why I'm going to start with this. So if you look back, personalized medicine started a couple, and I would say, on the change of the century, okay, and it has had a couple of different names. So we call it personalized medicine, we call it personalized personal medicine. So there is a huge variety on the names that we call it. But fundamentally, until now, what we have been doing is focusing on a single element of the medicine, or a single dimension, as we call it. And that single dimension is, as we do normally, we try to look for silver bullets to solve complex problems. Personalized medicine is a very, very complex problem. It demands integration between all the healthcare providers, all the research, everyone, even politicians that decide policies. Everyone needs to understand that it's not because you find a very fancy gene, as you see on these covers of the Time magazine, and I would say, for 12 years, we have been saying that, oh yes, genes are going to change the world, are going to change the face how we deliver medicine. It's going to be, our silver bullet. And suddenly, you come to October 2023, and you got a book that describes the history of the gene discovery and on the use of genes for personalized medicine. And you see that it was a technological effect that drove the use of genes. Suddenly, it was possible to do a full sequencing genome. All those amounts of data became available, and everyone thought, okay, yes, if you look into genes and we are able to target the genes, we are able to address, to correct the disease or not even, or to prevent it in a different way. What we come up with is, even when you have huge amounts of data to do those models and to do those analyses, you target very, very specific genes. So the personalized medicine became not personalized medicine that is focused on the full context of the individual, but becomes focused on very specific genes that are very specific to a very specific population. So you got back to the specifics of things, instead of understanding that environmental, medications, how you behave, your background history, where do you live, is quite important for your quality of life and healthcare and well-being. So my team has been looking to that, okay, and curious is that every one of us would be able to point out recent big achievements on personalized medicine, and you look into this and you see, okay, we have been improving our life expectancy, okay, that's amazing factor. But we are still spending 50% of the time being sick. No, okay. So how those things related? So you are getting older, but you spend more 50% of your time sick, and that's why you see every country complaining about, oh, you don't have enough resources on healthcare. Of course not. If you are increasing the life expectancy, you live longer, you stay 50% of time sick, so you are attending and being treated most of the time. So to address this, there is only a way to do it, is if we do prevention and if we try to move the personalized medicine from treating people to allow them to prevent and to define their own healthcare path. And today we are going to be seeing some of those examples and some of the questions that we are pointing out. At the same time, so because we are a personalized computational research center, and my team is dedicated to personalized healthcare, and we look more or less, we develop technology on the side of machine learning and artificial intelligence to tackle some of the personalized medicine problems. But if you look into, and nowadays we have this huge trend that large language models are going to have an impact. We can see that we had a lot of trends on technology that were understood as being a game changer on the healthcare side. Okay, but meanwhile, none of those technologies, were able to improve or to reduce the time that you spend sick. Okay, and why? Because we don't, as I said at the beginning, we are not looking into it from the integrated perspective that personalized medicine needs to tackle. So I would like us to focus today on where and when we should be able to do that, or if it is that doable at all. You can come to the conclusion, yeah, okay, that is a very nice idea, but we can really not implement it. We cannot do it, because, yeah, we have this healthcare sector that is so diverse, even in terms of technology, even in terms of treatments, even in terms how it develops their own approach to their patients, that is not possible. To give an example, we are working with a hospital in Portugal. So I'm Portuguese, as you can see my pronunciation. You can confuse me with a Spanish guy. So if you call me Jose, I will be very annoyed. So please call me Jose. So that's the Portuguese version. But yeah, so the idea being that with that hospital is you have this gastric cancer. So they shared with us a data set that is related to gastric cancer. Okay, and gastric cancer, or as any disease, has a couple of medical guidelines that you have to follow to do the diagnosis. After my team looked into that diagnosis, we came, okay, this cannot be right, because we are able to find diversity on the data, how that data is being used to diagnose the patient. And we come up to the evidence that data came from 2 different hospitals. And one of the hospitals had expertise on oncological disease, on gastric cancer, and they were doing things better than the other. So we need to take in consideration that diversity, that the resources that we have in different hospitals or different doctors are different, and they vary across the region where you are. So what my team is trying to do is trying to look into that and find ways how we can integrate data. And Paulina is going to talk a little bit about what we do and how we aim to have impact on how to use that technology, not from a single perspective or from a single dimension, but from a multidimensional perspective, to take personalized health further. So if you look here, so I got this from a paper on personalized medicine, and you can see that, for example, we have been promising, even the Medical Research Council has been saying that stratified medicine is the future. Okay, but you stratify medicine from the gene perspective. So for us, for my team, stratified medicine is to be able to stratify the profile of individual, taking in consideration the multidimensionality of the individual. Okay, so prevention and the personalized and the individual perspective needs to take in consideration where that individual lives. So, as I said, hospital A and hospital B are quite different. Okay, so and we are using, as we are now using the same thing on the technology with large language models, we are using catchphrases because that's what sells. That's what makes a very nice pitch. So if we for give you guys an idea, if nowadays on my area, when you apply for funding or if you apply for collaborations and you don't say yes, I'm not doing deep learning. I'm not doing fancy deep learning. I'm not doing large language models. They look into you. Okay, we're not doing very nice technology, so why are not using them? Because we think before using them, we need to solve a different type of problems that would allow us to integrate the information that we need, okay? So, and also, we need to go, and as he's saying that, look into other factors that allow us to understand and predict the prognosis of the patient. So, building this digital environment and the digital path that can take us forward. So if you look back in 2017, saying these type of things are really, really very bold claims. And then if you go back or you go further on this, that's what we see. So you got this, paper from 2020 saying this is what personalized health would look like. Okay, and you take just the first two. Okay, empowered, engaged, responsible health providers. What does that mean? What does it mean, a responsible health provider? Shouldn't we be responsible? Because healthcare is one of the most regulated sectors if you consider it as an industry. So I hope that everyone should be responsible, informed. So those three first words are for us, for my team, the fundamental change that needs to be put in the healthcare sector is informed. Yes, there is evidence that people, for example, when I arrived to Poland, I did an analysis of a data collected from the Wellcome Trust with a set of interviews worldwide. So they will ask 1,000 people in each country, a couple of interviews around how they see and what they would expect from healthcare researchers, healthcare providers, and how they see them. So in Poland, one staggering conclusion was that people believe more on ONGs than they believe on hospitals. And my question, why? Why is that possible? How you can, and they, for example, looking to the research, they don't believe in research because they think that researchers are biased to the companies that fund them. So the thing is that we talk a lot about informed power and engagement, but we don't tackle, the things that are at the roots of the problem. So our question, okay, how can we inform a patient? So how we can do for that? How can you empower them? How can they be engaged? So we think from our perspective that those two things have, once more getting back to my initial words, they need to be a collaboration between all the institutions that want to address that problem. So taking, for example, how we are doing things. We are working on a couple of different diseases, and our approach is always, we go to the hospital, we say, yeah, okay, this is what we can do and how we can use your data. And our data allows us, for example, to be completely our approach allows us, for example, to be completely GDPR compliance. There is no need to move the data from the hospital, so on and so forth. So, and then you create that trust on how you manage the data. So that's the initial path. And then is how you put people to be engaged. So we know, for example, in any industry, and my experience in Portugal was, and it's not different here in Poland, was that every time you go to a hospital and you talk with the IT manager, and if you go there and they ask, oh, we agree with your board that you are going to do a query from the system to extract this data set that we are going to analyze, he'll say, yeah, but that's not my priority because I have to keep the hospital running. So I'll do that when I have time. So if you don't engage, if people are not engaged, you cannot do anything. And then the users or the patients, so my team is following this idea of citizen before patient. So for you to be a citizen, you have to know how things are happening. So all these things about vaccinations and how vaccination were safe or not, they are depending on empowerment. Are depending on you to being able to see, oh, yeah, I can manage this. I see that the information that I have is from my hospital where my doctor is treating me, and so on and so forth. So you have to create that chain that allows you to make all or connect all bits and pieces to make things happening. So Already 1 minute? Okay, so yeah, it's not. It was 20 minutes. So that's the idea. So those 5 points are the points that I would like to keep for today. For us to find ways with the talks from the other partners to do something around that, or come with ideas how industry, research, and other partners and public sector, anyone that is in the room that is interested on changing healthcare, can come together and build, I don't know, partnerships that will change or allow us to implement some of those things forward. Okay. Thank you for being here. So now we are passing to Ruddock. So Ruddock is Mark Ruddock is representing Ruddock. He can present himself better than me. So I'm giving him the floor. Yeah. No, that's forward and back, and they should be putting the slides. Yeah.
Okay. Ruddock Laboratories. Sorry. Sorry again. So I'm Chief Scientific Officer for Ruddock Laboratories, but I actually have 2 hats. I'm also Clinical Studies Manager, so I look after Ruddock's health, and I also look after a lot of clinical trials which we undertake. And I just want to give you just one slide on what basically Ruddock's are about. And we're one of the world's leading diagnostic companies. In fact, we're one of the biggest leading companies in Europe. And our mantra and our mission is basically to improve global health. And what I'm going to be talking today about really is how do we reduce the burden on the healthcare system, because we know the system is about ready to implode. So my whole talk will be functioning around how Ruddock's, can use algorithms, in primary care to direct decision making. So I want to give you the problem, and this is not a problem just that Northern Ireland or the UK face at this moment in time, but I think it's very shocking that 1 in 4 people in Northern Ireland, or 1 in 4 individuals that actually are diagnosed with cancer, are actually diagnosed in the NE department, which is absolutely incredible. The second thing is, if you want to see a consultant in Northern Ireland, you're going to wait between 52 and 54 weeks. So that's from going to see your GP, getting a recommendation. And secondly, 8 million people currently are waiting for a diagnostic test in the United Kingdom. So those figures should shock everybody in the room, and they're getting worse. So what I really want to talk about today is cancer, prostate cancer, and risk stratification. So we're really interested in how do we triage these people? How do we stratify them? In other words, how do we move the people who at low risk and separate the people at high risk, okay? So that's really what we're interested in. So if you look at the figures currently at the moment, there's over 55,000 men in the UK that are diagnosed with prostate cancer, and that figure is going to double in the next sort of 10, 15 years. And I want you to concentrate on the one on the left at the bottom. 75% of patients who actually present with a PSA greater than 3 that actually do get a referral, well, they're negative for prostate cancer. So if you ask the question, then how many people do we need to screen to find the 50,000, who have the prostate cancer? Well, you're looking at 200,000. So in Northern Ireland, we have changed the cancer network pathway, and primarily what we're looking at now, rather than refer a patient based on a single elevated PSA, we require 2 PSAs separated by about a month. You need a PIRAD score. PIRAD score basically is just an MRI, which is interpreted by the clinical oncologist. And then we look at risk factors as well. So we look at all these in combination, and the clinician decides, whether the patient is referred for a biopsy or not. And by the way, biopsies are not without risk. 1% of the patients end up with sepsis. 3 to 5% of them can end up with prostatitis, which is very difficult to treat. So I want to give you a few figures about PSA, or a few facts, should I say. The first thing is, it was never designed to be diagnostic. It was designed to be used as a tool to measure the effect of treatment. The second thing is, your PSA levels can be up for any reason, any benign reason, and one of them being benign prostate enlargement. And PSA levels also go up with age. And the reason we don't actually screen, for PSA in the male population is primarily because the false positive rate's 70%. But I think the most important thing, and if there's one thing I want you to take away from this slide, is the very bottom note, that a negative biopsy doesn't always indicate that there's no cancer. So even though you could have 2 elevated PSAs, your PIRAD score could be greater than 2, your biopsy could be negative, it does not rule out prostate cancer. So we've been working with the Ulster University. We've also worked with Surrey University and Surrey County Hospital, and we looked at a study, and this was a case control study, and we wanted to see if we could actually identify biomarkers that would differentiate and put patients into low and high risk categories. And this is what I'm going to talk about it now. By the way, I'm trying to condense something that would normally take me an hour into 10 minutes, so please forgive me if I just move swiftly on. So what we find, and what we tested and benchmarked against, was PSA. And if you look at the PSA level, sorry, just want you to look at column AEROC. The PSA on its own had an area under the curve of 0.7, but when we combined EGFR-IL-8 and MCP1 into the model, that went to 0.860. So if you think about the graph, that's graph A. If you look at the yellow line, that's PSA on its own, and then if you add the combination, that's the blue line, we were picking up much more cancers. More importantly, we were ruling out cancers. What we really want to do here is not subject men to unnecessary and invasive procedures. So what we did was, we developed this algorithm, very, very simple linear regression algorithm, and this is as much as I'm going to talk about today. And basically, we just take a blood sample, we measure the 4 biomarkers, we put them into this patient risk score, we call it. And if you have a score greater than 0.538, then you would be into a high risk category. And if you were below that category, you'd be low risk. So it's very, very simple. And it all can be done in under 1 hour. So what we did was we also looked at our Ruddock's health clinics. So we have clients who actually attend for a wellness check. So we did a dip test and took 324 men. So irrespective of their TPSA, we ran our algorithm in all of these men, and we separated them based on which group they fell into. So if you look at group 1, that's where the TPSA was negative, and the algorithm also said they were negative, so 87% of the patients fell into that group. If you look at group 2, the TPSA again was negative, but the algorithm says there's something going on here. Group 3, they were positive for PSA, but their algorithm was negative. And then we have the highest risk group, which said that their TPSA was positive, and the algorithm also said they were positive. And one thing I want to say here is we didn't know anything about these patients. All we wanted was the data. And then what we did was, once we had this information, we went back and asked, well, what's going on here? So we're going to take the first group, which is the 28 patients who were in group 2, and we broke them down into 2 groups. And the first group was there any prostate issues reported in that 28 group? And in fact, yes, there was 12. And then we actually asked, was there a family history of cancer? There was in 10, and obviously 10 and 2 actually, yes. And then we also seen in no prostate cancer or no prostate issues, 15 out of the 16 also had a family history of cancer. So we know there's something going on here, but we don't know what it is. And these are the patients, you know, that the algorithm says there's something wrong, but their PSA says that it's normal. So these patients would require further investigation. And you can see some of the clinical characteristics for the patients. And again, I can't go into great detail on those particular patients, but it was very exciting when we got these particular pieces of data. Also, if we look at group 3, which were patients who had a PSA which were positive. And I want to say from the outset that we set the PSA at 4. So again, if you look at the first patient in group 3, who's a 72-year-old, that would be a normal PSA for a man of that age. But one thing I want to point out is if we look at group 4, everybody in group 4, which is the highest risk group, the Patient number 1, he was 55, has a PSA of 4.27. Normal range for PSA for a patient in our age group is about 3.5, less than or equal to. So this person had a PSA 0.77 nanograms higher than the basic NICE guidelines. The NICE guidelines are basically the guidelines that we use in the United Kingdom. If we look at his EGF, IL-8, and MCP1, they were all normal. But when we looked at his algorithm scored 1, which meant he was 20 times higher than recommended, and he was referred, and we found out subsequently that he had prostate cancer. I've just been shown that I have 1 minute left, so I need to go a bit quicker. What I really want to just finish off with is a couple of things. First of all, single biomarkers don't have the sensitivity or the specificity to be diagnostic. And it's also very difficult to use biomarker combinations to actually pinpoint an actual disease state, because there's so much comorbidities to actually get through. And once we get through the labyrinth, are we actually seeing what's going on? And one of the things that I'm very interested in is polypharmacy, because I think a lot of the pathological signatures that we're seeing or manifestations are just drug interactions. In other words, if we look at patients taking more than 1 or 2 or 3, and polypharmacy is defined as taking 5 or more drugs, what impact are they having on the biomarkers? And is the biomarker profile pathogenic, as I say, or just the result of synergy between these drugs? So we see Ruddock actually working with the GP surgery to stratify risk, and we are using machine learning and AI at this moment in time. And what we're trying to do is reduce the burden by sending low-risk patients home and obviously prioritizing patients who are medium or high risk. And so we're working with multiple projects: bladder cancer, prostate, kidney, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and we're also now looking at mood disorders. So I would just like to thank you for your attention, and Joanne for being here with me. Thank you.
Thank you. So I call the next speaker.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dagmara Słota. I'm a PhD student from Kraków University of Technology. And today I would like to present you a talk regarding multifunctional biomaterials for targeted therapy in bone regeneration. And before I start, I would like to start with a short overview of the market demand to demonstrate you the need to work on new materials. In 2021, the global biomaterials market was worth more than $112 billion. And it is estimated that by 2030, this value will increase to the amount of $360 billion. So the value will triple. As for a biocomposite only dedicated for bone tissue regeneration, it is estimated that by 2028, the value of the market will be almost $60 billion. This value is dedicated only for biocomposite for bone tissue. So as you can see, the need is quite big. And that case can be also observed on the Polish market if it's about implants. Here on the slide, you can take a look for statistics for endoprothesis implants in Poland in last year and 2 years ago. As you can see, in 2022, as many as 10,000 more patients decided to have a hip endoprothesis, a hip joint replacement. That's 10,000 more than in 2021. Also, around 8,000 more patients decided to have total knee endoprothesis joint replacement in 2022 compared to 2021. So as you can see, more and more patients are in need of joint replacement, are in need of implants. If it's about those implants for hip and for knee replacement, those are endoprotheses. They are mostly made out of metallic materials like titanium or titanium alloys. And those metals are, of course, biocompatible, but they are not bioactive. What means is that after implementation into the body, they are inert. They are not able to stimulate bone tissues or any other tissues around the implant for faster regeneration. So the question arises, can we extend its functionality? So is it possible to provide those metallic implants with additional functions so they can provide something more apart just the support function only. And the answer is yes. In Krakow University of Technology, we obtain the methodology of obtaining as well as the composition of multifunctional coating that can be used to cover metallic implants to provide them with additional other function. This coating can be applied on metallic or polymeric materials, polymeric and metallic implants. And the important factor is the fact that this coating not changing mechanical properties of the implant because it's really thin. Why it's multifunctional? Because of few things. First of all, it's bioactive, which means the coating can stimulate bone-forming cells to proliferate. We have more bone-forming cells around the implant, which means we can observe faster recovery. Second, the coating acts as a drug delivery system. In human body, the coating releases antibiotic that provides antimicrobial properties. Next, we have two really important proteins that can be released from the coating. One protein can stimulate blood vessels to grow. When we have more blood vessels around the implant, then we can the risk of the dislocation and displacement is reduced to minimum. And last thing is the last protein that provides anti-inflammatory effects and all of that for faster and safer healing, of course. And also really important thing is the composition of the coating. It's composed of two really important phases. One phase is polymeric, second one is ceramic. So it's polymer ceramic composite is really important because natural bone is also ceramic polymer composite, so the coating is biomimetic towards bone tissue. We provided in vitro and in vivo studies on animal model, on rat. Of course, they were those studies, in vivo studies, were conducted according to appropriate standard. Yeah, really important thing to mention is also the fact that the coating can be personalized. The chemical composition is unchanged. However, we can modify the dose of antibiotic, the content of the drug, as well as the content of those active proteins. The one that stimulate blood vessels and the second one with anti-inflammatory properties depends on the individual needs of the patient. Also really important to mention is the fact that the methodology of obtaining coatings is ecological and economical. It does not generate byproduct, and also it doesn't require the use of chemical, toxic or aggressive reagents and chemicals. It's economically friendly because of those byproducts, especially because from the industrial point of view, every byproduct has to be utilized. That's generate more and more cost. We do not generate byproducts in our methodology, so we do not generate more cost for utilization of those byproducts. In parallel to our coating, we also, me and my team, obtain other bioactive materials that can be used to support bone regeneration. Tissue labeled as 1 and 3, we have other composite coating that can be used to cover metallic and polymeric implants. They are also work as a active substance delivery system. Labeled as 2, we have a composite that can be tailored with any shape to the needs of the patient and can be used to fill the defect of bone tissue. And labeled as 4, that's a foam, really elastic foam that can be used to can work as a scaffold for cell culture. If it's about commercialization, let's say the most important for us was coating and that foam that work as a scaffold. And for the coating, so far we have 3 Polish patent application for. Okay, for foam we have 2 Polish patent application and 1 patent application in PCT procedure. So we, from university point of view, we end up as far as we could. So at the in vivo studies, we have prototype of the implant in laboratory condition. We check its mechanical, physiochemical, and biological properties. So right now, the next step is actually clinical trials, so we can use our coatings to help patients in need. Of course, from the university point of view, we are a university, we're not company, so that all the research would not be possible without the appropriate funding. All the research were carried out in framework of project Multifunctional, biologically active composite for application in bone regenerative medicine. And of course, I didn't do it by myself. I did it with the whole team. actually, it's not the whole team. It's almost whole team that work with me on the coatings and other materials. And that's all from my side. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm open.
Thank you. I think that, yeah, I think it's your turn. Yeah. No? No. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. The phone and such.
Hello, everyone. My name is Małgorzata, and I represent Orthotics 3D, a company you're just about to find about. And the topic we are going to discuss today is personalized orthotics redefined through 3D printing. To start with, we're going to talk about orthosis itself. Oh. Are you able to start the video, please? So what are orthoses? Okay, I will try to use, I'm not sure if the video works. If you could help me, that would be great. But I'll compare it to something you all know. So if you think of prosthesis, everyone knows what a prosthesis is. For instance, limb prosthesis. With orthosis, it's slightly different. If you compare it to teeth, if you've got an implant, you have a replacement. If you've got an orthosis, you've got a help, support, correction. And this is what is orthosis, called braces differently. And I'm sure you know someone who wear teeth braces before, so that's a similar function. In the video, you could see the comparison between gait of the patient without orthosis and with orthosis. Maybe next time. Okay, so what was the problem and why the project started? We had two problems, or there is two problems in the world. The first one is the process of creation orthosis. Orthoses are made to measure just like with teeth braces, and they are always bespoke. So the process was one problem. The other problem was the product. So with the product innovation, we aimed for increased acceptance and effectiveness of orthosis. Worthwhile, the orthoses are heavy, bulky, not breathable, quite poorly fitted because of the measurement methods, and they take from 6 to 8 weeks to produce. And quite frankly, they're quite old-fashioned. If you compare it to our orthoses, Evelina, could you pass the orthoses? They are 3D printed, up to 75% lighter, 50% thinner, perforated, precisely measured. The time of waiting for the patient has decreased significantly. And we also took care of the award-winning design, which is really important for the patients who are mostly children and teenagers. With the transformation of the process, if you compare it, we are one of the 3 companies in the world who 3D print orthoses. So most of the processes are handmade based on the plaster casting. They are very specialist dependent, which means the decreasing amount of specialists is a problem on the market, and therefore they are time consuming. If you look at our process, because we took it all digital with the 3D scanning, 3D modeling, and 3D printing, we were able to automate process and start using artificial intelligence. And then, because of that, provide a shorter production time. The aim of scalable, precise, and friendly process is not only for the patient, but also for the specialist, because the company delivers B2B products as well. So to sum it up, the solution is based on the application, tools for the specialists, award-unique scanning system, digital production, and effective orthosis. Here are some of the pictures of the orthosis you can see. And some of you now have them in your hands. It wouldn't have been possible without technology and equipment. So when it comes to technology, the production and a lot of equipment is based on the mother company of Ortho 3D, which is called Centrum Druku, and how it all started. So what we have in our laboratory is, the first thing, the HP Multijet Fusion 3D printing machine. This is the powder-based technology, which uses biocompatible materials. We have a range of materials, polypropylene, nylon, which is PA11, PA12, and TPU. You would have seen the video, but it doesn't work. But if I shortly describe it, any product, so in this case, this is the orthosis, but it can be anything else, is produced layer by layer. And there are two agents. One of them helps the material to be heated and fused, and the other agent is used to separate the rest of the powder from in the whole chamber. So that's how it's made. Afterwards, what is needed is the post-processing process, and the prints can also be dyed. So that's how our call for orthosis became colorful. And we use two machines for that, Dimension PowerShot C and DM60 for dyeing. In the process of checking the effectiveness of orthosis, we use also a gate laboratory. You probably know it as motion capture system because it's used in film. So that's what's definitely probably everyone heard about. How it works, you put the markers on the body. You also put EMG sensors, which can check the activity of the muscles. And a patient, a sportsman, walks on the path, and a full report of the abnormalities, asymmetry can be detected. A huge part in any creation of the product is also the mechanical side of it. So what we use is fatigue testing machines to check the cycles of the orthosis. Also finite element methods to check them prior being printed. Shimadzu machine, which is also a tensile strength and machine which was used just for the materials, and 3D scanner. As an example, you can see one of the scanners we have. Any machine needs an experienced team to be powering them. So no machine is going to make a project working. So also an experienced, diverse team is something which was really important in the process. We have biomedical engineers, doctors, physiotherapists, and also R&D specialists and design team. Any path from the research to development should also include those two parts, the certification in quality, which is ensured in the medical sector by EU MDR, which is Medical Device Regulation certification, and in our case, ESO quality. Okay, to sum it up, the technical laboratory and technical knowledge combined with the knowledge about medical equipment industry in general is a big thing to start any idea or any initiative in this field. So if any of this equipment, any of these ideas have inspired your ideas, then we invite you to our stand and we can talk about it more. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
We'll leave questions to the end, so I expect that you are getting them ready because we have the last presentation, so hopefully you are taking notes. If not, I'm going to ask very hard questions.
Good morning. My name is Wojciech Komnata. I represent Nivalit. It's a Polish medtech company from Kraków. And I would like to say something about our project. Project's name is Mentalio. which concern mental health care, child and adolescents. So it's a very, very hot topic, I think so. And I will start from some numbers, but before, I would like to make a focus about AI advanced algorithm, which we use in this project. Of course, a lot of you said, please show me project without AI. Every of you know probably ChatGPT, use AI, it's less or more, doesn't matter. But of course, if we said about medical data, if we said about incomplete and uncertain data, it's absolutely different that very, very simple AI which recognize problem on medical images. If we discuss the medical data, it's a huge problem. So we use new technology together with AGH, University of Kraków, and I hope maybe some of you will have a question about it. But before, at the beginning, I would like to show you some numbers which cover this problems. I hope so. Oops, let's show numbers. First number, 62.3% of young people have very good relation with their peers. Next question, next number. More than 70% of young people realize their dreams. Next number. About 60% have very good intra-family relation. Oops. Is real? Sorry, I missed you. It's not true. It's absolutely different information and absolutely another numbers. What's the reality? This reality was recognized by Foundation Unaweza, which is project covered together with Gdańsk University and Szczecin University this year. And real numbers. Let's say about 31% of young people have a problem with relation with peers. Next one, 37 dot point have a sense of loneliness. Another one, more than 32% don't accept how they look and who they are. And the best one, 1 in 5 don't want to live. It's real situation of child and adolescent mental health problem in Poland. What kind of challenges we have in that situation? About 25% of Polish young people have a mental health problem. What does it mean with 25% in Poland only? It's 1 million young people. So it means that this 1 million should have a contact with psychiatry specialist. But currently, we have too few physicians with a specialist in psychiatry diseases. It means that only 12% of this 1 million, it means 120,000 of young people, has possibility to make a contact with psychiatrists. So it's too less. In that situation, and another situation, we have a problem with geographic inequality. Probably you know that in large urban agglomeration, we have better possibilities to make a connection to physicians, to specialists. Let's see, Kraków, Łódź, Warsaw, let's say Gdańsk, but compared to Rzeszów, for example, and see to some small cities like Myślenice, like Pcim, Bochnia, Brzesko, Tarnów, another one. Only in Małopolska voivodeship. It's dark. Absolutely dark. And how to turn on the light and change this situation. For that reason, we established together with together with Kraków University, Hospital University, established Mentalio project. This project covers 3 areas. First area is process. I will say something more in next slide about this process. Next is measurement. And third, prediction based on AI algorithm. What is this measurement? This measurement is interesting because it's cover behavior monitoring questionnaires. It means that during preparing answer, patient discussion with physician, young people is monitoring, and we receive more indexes, more information about this patient. It's information about focus, about completion, about some others. Let's back to this information, I hope so next. And with 3 levels of psychiatry model current in Poland. First level, it's psychologists, psychotherapists, some small, very small clinics. Second levels cover medical center, psychiatric clinics and private clinics. And third one are hospitals, specialized hospitals. But it's too less and too late. For that reason, we try to enter to this process parents. And our ground level is involved in this program, in this Mentalio project, parents to monitor situation of the child. Mentalio is a 2A medical product, which cover 4 aspects. One aspect is support of diagnosis, as I said before, reduction of diagnosis time, reduction of diagnosis time, prediction and coordination of specialists. A few words about market in Poland only. In Poland, we have 22 psychiatric hospitals, specialized psychiatric hospitals, 220 general hospitals with specialized wards, more than 3,000 psychological counseling centers, about 21,000 primary and secondary schools. This ARR is annual recurring revenue market in Poland is about 16 million euros, only in Poland. If we take that it's only 1% worldwide, its market in worldwide is 1.6 billion euros. Very, very huge market. What do you think about market share of this project after, of course, commercialization? In first year, about 500,000. In fourth year, more than 3 million euros yearly. What we are looking right now. This project is funding from Medical Research Agency. Together with Nivalit, we have 1 million euro. But right now we are looking for 2.5 million euros for example, for next steps. It means finalizing of commercialization, implementation of our marketing and sales strategy, start activity in other European countries, and prepare to enter to US market. It's our plan for next years. Of course, we are looking for interest from others points. So we are signing right now letter of intent. Currently, 10% of Polish hospitals signed with us a letter of intent. We are at the beginning of this project because we are started June this year. And this project will be finalized during 3 years, spent 3 years. So right now, after half year, we have 10% of letter of intent from hospitals. So we think that interest is very, very, very big. But of course, we would like absolutely more. A few words about Nivalit. Nivalit was established 3 years ago. We have, of course, certification, ISO. It's 13485. We currently cover 2 medical projects, Undvivo and Mentalio. Undvivo is AI respiratory monitoring system, and this Mentalio is funded by this medical research agency. It's cover with psychiatry. And what is very, very important is not only our project, we have very close cooperation with universities, with AGH University of Kraków, with Jagiellonian University Medical College, and of course, mentioned before, Polish Kraków Hospital, University Hospital, the biggest hospital in Poland. So, it's all, and if you have any question, I'm happy to answer. Of course, Mr. Chairman, allow me, but if not...
I'm not. We're leaving questions for the end, but okay. And before going to my, and because I like to mess things up, and before going to my last, the last presentation that is from someone from my team, I would show you how we do things at Sano. So if you could play the video that I just shared, it's a 4-minute video, so it should be fine.
On the disease management. Okay? So, by disease management, we mean how we can use AI or new developments on AI to improve the...
It was just 4 minutes. Yeah, no, it's 4 hours. You know, that's it. No, it's for 4 hours. Now, because one thing is when you talk about collaboration, another thing is when you show how we do things at Sano. So, we do things. My team works very interdependently. So we have more or less two parts of the team. One that is focused on biological and using of our AI methodologies applied to biology. The second one is the part of the computational part that does AI and machine learning modeling.
A citizen before patient on the disease management. Okay, so and by disease management we mean how we can use AI or new developments on AI to improve the quality of the disease management. Not only treatment and diagnose, but also prevention. For example, we are looking into secondary care data that is stored at hospital level, and that data comes with a challenge because it's data that is collected daily, you know, and that represents the context where the population lives. So it needs AI that is able to, or artificial intelligence that is able to address not only multi-data sources, you know, because you have, you know, different types of data that is provided from lab samples, you know, to clinical diagnosis, to assessment, so on and so forth, but also to integrate that diversity of data to create a clear understanding of what would be a disease path for a certain individual. So we are taking this from the hospitals, and we have a couple of collaboration with different hospitals in different areas or in different diseases, and then we are trying to understand those models, how those models can be used to inform the patient, you know, to take an action on its own disease or in its own problem. Okay.
So I'm a computational scientist. I'm responsible of developing the tool that we're using for classifying diseases using abstractions. In the nearest future, the goal is to realize a system able to classify this kind of diseases in a very transparent way for the clinicians and the patient to have a very clear picture of what is happening, why the machine is taking a particular decision, and what are the aspects they can work on to change the diagnosis, for example. Our model looks at every particular characteristic of a person independently and tries to estimate how likely that characteristic is to appear in a particular disease. Of course, this per se is not enough, because this characteristic can work together for a particular disease. So it's not just enough to have high sugar in the blood for having diabetes. You also need to have a set of different characteristics in a person to develop diabetes. So then we link these characteristics together to show how these characteristics interact in a disease. And this works better than traditional models in terms of performance. We have proven on clinical data sets that this is able to provide a very good classification scenario. The idea is that this tool will be used for helping clinicians, not for replacing them, to understand better and more quickly what a patient has before making a diagnosis. Because of course, clinicians have to deal with a lot of data in a very short time when they see a person. Having the system able to point to the elements that are more relevant for a particular diagnosis for a person before the visit is actually helpful for having the most effective diagnosis outcome.
Our target is 2026. At the moment, what we have is a very good stratifier. So we have a couple of tools that we call Catus, that we just published. We have the paper under review on ACM, and that we demonstrate that is a very good classifier for stratifying diseases. So stratifying diseases means that you can classify an individual in a certain disease stage. So healthy, sick, or going to be sick, so on and so forth. We are in the stage where we have this stratifier. We are publishing a couple of papers that demonstrates the capability of that stratify, and we are going to start a project with a hospital here in Poland that deals with allergies, where we are using that stratifier to try to address the allergies diagnosis and management. There is this team integration between different knowledge, so everyone has a contribution of different knowledge, and that's something that makes us unique. So we are working together towards solving a problem together. So it's on that context. So, and the problem is disease management and improvement of quality of life of the patients.
I was trying to make Paulina life easier, so now she has the responsibility to show Paulina, to show how this works and how we are aiming to deploy this to the society to have impact. So if you could put last presentation from Paulina. Yeah. So,
there's no future.
Yes, so this one is good.
Okay, just forward.
Yes, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paulina Tworek, and today I'm going to present the research which is conducted at Personal Health Data Science team, led by José Sousa at Sano. And the topic of the presentation is Machine Learning, the engine driving personalized medicine into the future. So, as José previously said, personalized medicine has evolved significantly since its early focus on genomics. So, in the past, the emphasis was primarily on pharmacogenomics, tailoring drug treatments based on personal genetic information. However, over time, it was noticed that genomic information alone is insufficient in the scope of personalized medicine. So then, when artificial intelligence was implemented, there was made like paradigm shift, and the possibility of artificial intelligence of analyzing extensive data sets show us that there is like huge possibility which enable us for more holistic understanding of the personal health. It was possible because machine learning allows us, as it was presented at Randall's presentation, for prediction disease risk, but also finding patterns which are unseen by human eye. But what we can also do is suggestion of treatment strategies. So going on, we were able to see that moving the evolution of personalized medicine from genomics to artificial intelligence provide us a much more comprehensive and dynamic approach to deliver individualized and very effective personal medicine. So, however, aren't we back in the stage of history as we were before. So as I said, in the past, we were focused on the genomics information alone, and now very often artificial intelligence is focused only on several types of methods of artificial intelligence, like large language models. So what are the challenges of currently used machine learning methods? So firstly, huge amounts of data play a crucial role in the development of currently used machine learning models, and it enables them generalization and good performance. But as we know, it's not so easy to get huge amounts of data in the case of medical areas. What is also important, not only the quantity of data is important, but also the quality. So the data sets should be clean and complete. In other case, we can pre-process them, but we know that the pre-processing is very costly and time-consuming. Another factor is data protection. We know that in the case of the medical areas, we should be focused on the privacy policy and protect the personal data of patients, which are used to train our models. And also, there is like huge problem with integration of data from different data sources, and it can be like very, very challenging to deal with data with different quality level. And the most important in the medical area is explainability of our models, especially currently used machine learning models like deep learning are unexplainable, and we just need to know that in medicine there are three main principles driving like the future: is the transparency, ethical practice, and also the explainability of given results. And just taking under consideration of all of the challenges, we are stepping in with our out-of-the-box approach, which is called Cactus, and it's a classification tool for supporting decision-making processes. So Cactus is able to solve all of the problems which were mentioned before. So it's able to learn based on small data sets, and also the data sets can be like noisy and incomplete, and no more preprocessing is needed. What is also important, Cactus is able to integrate data from different data sources and with different quality. It's able to deal with different data types like continuous and categorical values. It also includes algorithm, which enables it to transform the data in such ways that it's anonymized directly in the hospital, and no raw data is transferred outside the hospital. And what is the more important here, the model is explainable. So it gives us information about the features on which the medical decision was based. And apart from this, it can even give us additional information about the disease diagnostic path. And we obtain very promising results so far, but now we are at the pivotal step of our project. It's implementation of Cactus in live hospital environment, and it will be critical proof of concept of our system. And we are going to implement the system in one of the biggest departments of allergy in Poland. And generally, it seemed that allergy is not a very critical problem, but every one of us knows someone who deals with its effect. What is more, also diagnostic of allergy seems to be not very complicated, but it turns out that it's a very complex problem, and its complexity is associated with the fact that there are many factors which are dependent on the allergy path. Also, different procedures are taken out under consideration by different doctors. And what is very important, it's time-consuming process, and the data is multidimensional, so it can be like easily analyzed by human. And to show you the complexity of the diagnostic problem of allergy, I would like to present you some numbers which we found out based on data sets, including 800 of patients from the allergy department. So we found out that there are 94 different medical examinations for allergy diagnosis. There are 14 different groups of allergies, not specific allergies, but allergies groups. And we can also see at the graphs that there are like 220 patients which visited the hospital at least 3 times to get the diagnosis. But also there were cases when there was even 13 visits in hospital to obtain the diagnosis of allergy. At the second graph, we can see that there was like 130 patients who had at least 7 different medical examinations, but there were even patients which have like 22 different types of medical examinations. And we believe that by implementation of our system in the Department of Allergy, we will be able to demonstrate the usability and precision of our system. And we would like to do it by optimizing the disease management strategies, mainly by evaluating the impact of implementation on the work effectiveness. So we would like to reduce the number of examinations taken by the patients. We would like to provide recommendations to the doctors about the order and type of examination which should be taken to reduce the number of visits and medical tests. And we would like also to get confirmation of its usability, which will be confirmed by healthcare workers. And what is more, we have also prepared a prototype of mobile app because we would like to empower the disease management by the users, by patients, as we believe that it can have like very positive impact on the disease management and also health outcomes. And of course, we are open for collaboration, so we can implement our system, Cactus, in your hospital. And it can be implemented in very different types of medical facilities dealing with variety of medical conditions. So if you have any if you see any possibility of collaboration, please contact us. And thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you, Paulina. So I hope that you enjoyed the session. So it's time for you to, stand up and ask questions, more details. So I think that all the presenters will be more than happy to. Okay. So I think that any of them will be more than happy, especially me, so because already know that I like to talk, so I can talk for 2 hours, about what we are doing. Yeah, but don't be shy. I'm thinking that we are having the same problems when you are giving a lecture. No one asks questions, and then they fail their exam. So I think that next year, I'm going to do an exam after this session. Okay. Any question?
Cactus system, and how can you confirm that that diagnosis or suggestion is correct? Because I believe that, I guess at least, that the data that you're working on are the ones that you take from the archives of the hospital, or they are basically not continuous. It's not the real-time data. So how can you suggest the clinician that there is a higher possibility for the patient to have that particular disease if the data comes from the past? And for example, there's a different data that comes from morphology, and there's a different data that comes from any other study. So how do you unify that, and how
Okay.
are you making it happen, basically?
Now that's the question that we get always. So that's you can. So if you are interested in more technical explanation, so the technical team is here and can give you an overview. So all of us we are here. So feel free to ask any questions. So that's why I put the video for. So the point is that in machine learning you have this big problem that you would like to have access to the data source. Okay, you have that because that's when you are in control. So we are working on something that we call abstraction. So we don't use the raw data itself. We look for transitions of the data, and we use data to generate models. And you are right, that data is historical data, okay? But once you take that historical data and you feed that data into, for example, any decision-making system, okay? And you get a new patient, you are able to look into the data from the new patient and compare with the model that you have. So that's why we are saying that we can deploy this at the hospital environment. And our concept is that if you go to a certain hospital, you are mapped against that population, okay? So, and that's what we relate to. So it would be easy for the doctor to understand what this is from the historical data in comparison with the new data that the patient or the individual is feeding in. Okay, so that's why we are looking to this integration of what we call stratification. That's what Katos does. So Katos does the stratification using the historical data, plus this empowerment, that is the interface that you put up to the user, like the app that I just showed, where the user can interact with that. So our concept is that the secondary care data that is there and is not explored, needs to be put in context, and then the user can act on that context. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So technically, we are implementing a couple of new machine learning approach that we are publishing, and we are dealing with that. So but that's our concept. So you have Katos running on the background, generating those models, historical data that then compares with the feeding data that you feed from the patient. Okay, did I answer your question? Yeah, we get that a lot. We get that a lot. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was intrigued by the heterogeneity of the data sources that was just shown by your colleague.
Yeah.
Up to 22 parameters. So there is a lot of heterogeneity in the input that you get for your models.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Is there a minimum, set of data that you need for your machine learning approach and to make the prediction, or how do you deal with the, the diversity and the sparseness of data?
Okay, so as I said, the team has been together for the last 18 months. So, and that was our first question: is if you want to have impact on healthcare, you have to have a way where you normalize or you integrate the data without having to normalize it. Because normally nowadays what you do if you have different labs providing different information, as the case of as my colleague presented, so allergies, we already identified that there is a huge diversity on the labs, that because one year you use one lab, the other year you use a different lab. So, and the metrics, the quantifications are different. So what we do is, as I said, we transform that data into categorical data to make it comparable. Okay, because if you are looking to, the distribution, or if you are looking to BMI, for example, is one thing. If you look into raw data, is another thing. If you look into the distribution of the data, you cannot compare raw data if they come from two different laboratories, but you can compare the distribution. Because and that's what we do. So we and I can show in more details what comes from Katos. We generate what we call knowledge graphs, or a network, of interactions where you can see those different features integrating. Okay, and you can see the distribution varying on the healthy patients or on the sick patients, so on and so forth. So that's how we do it. So that's how we integrate diversity. For example, we have a long project with Ruddock on bladder cancer, and that's what we are doing. So we are integrating the multi-dimension of the cohort that they collected to provide an integrated view of the patient of the disease. Yeah, but that's how we do it. So we look into the distribution, not in the raw data itself. Any additional questions for the other panelists? Yeah.
A mobile app and what he should do.
Okay, that's that's a very interesting questions. I think I'm taking the monopoly. The panels are not going to be here next year for sure. At least with me. At least with me. So yeah, but the idea, the thing is that we provide. So our scenario is something like this. Okay, you go to the hospital. Okay, and I know for any reason you are diagnosed or you get diagnosed of a certain problem. Okay, the hospital will tell you, okay, yes, we have here this app where you can see how the population on the hospital behaves, and you can feed your own data. So the app, and we have now a demo running, allows you to interact with it. So for example, imagine that going again, for example, on diabetes or cardiovascular diseases, for example, you are able to introduce the data there. So we can say, okay, I would like to define my digital path. Okay, and you go there and you put your age, gender, and then you start seeing for that hospital or for that region in particular, what are the risk factors? For example, smoking, and you can go there and go, I don't smoke. And then if you have, so for example, for the allergies example, as you are going to have longitudinal data, so for example, year after year, month after month, you can compare and track that to the age, for example. No, you can scroll, for example, or go and see, okay, when I will be 50, how my digital path would look like. Okay, so that's how we are seeing. So we are not, so traditionally what you have is on traditional apps approach, you have an app that starts to ask you lots of information about you, but doesn't give you nothing back, So but that's true. That's really true. You feed information. Okay, this is coaching, and then you get a couple of vague answers. You need to stop smoking, walking more, blah blah blah, all those sorts of things. What we do is we take the information from where it's stored, on any healthcare, would be a hospital or GP, whatever, and we generate those models, and that are the starting point. So the machine learning or the AI thing is not asking you to describe yourself. It's telling, oh, this is the population that you belong to. And you should be aware that according to this area, you have a couple of risks. For example, Kraków is known for the low quality of air. So it's typical to Kraków, So, and that if you go to a hospital and you model it, you get the model that tells you describe the relations with the quality of air. So, for example, UK is very well known to eat processed food, for example. So, so those patterns, if you take to the hospital, you should be able to see them. So that's what our seed users is, the empowerment of users, is believing that the information that you have is correct, is coming from a valid point of a valid source, and that you are having a contribution also, because that if you start acting on that, you can see your health in 10 years, 5 years, or in each dimension that you want. Okay, thank you for the question. Fundamental.
How do you address these issues? And I believe in decentralization, and I wonder if there are attempts to make it decentralized or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if it is possible to put the. Sorry, can you put the last presentation, please? I think that could give you a better idea. Now, yes, trust and explainability will be, as Mark said at the beginning, I can speak to 2 hours about that, how difficult it is to do that. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, my God. That has been the history of my life. I can never go back. Sometimes I would like. Yeah, so that's what we imagine here, okay? So you would have this, what we call containers inside the hospital, okay, that would run this data transformation process. So data transformation process, it means that you take the raw data, you apply a couple of algorithms that we have published and that we demonstrate that they can anonymize and transform the data, and they generate what we call knowledge graph, okay? And that's the knowledge graph that moves here. Okay, no raw data moves from the local place. So that's how we validate the security and the GDPR compliance of the models. Okay, so you cannot go here, and get a knowledge graph, and then start looking, oh, this is the patient A, B, and C. It's impossible to do it because it's from one side is aggregated information, from other side is information just describe the transformation of the data. It doesn't tell you that if it is 0, 1, and 2. It just tells you at the moment if it is up and down. That's the only thing that it tells you. And we prove that with that information is enough to get good accuracy on the models. Okay, so that's why, because what we have nowadays, and also related with the previous question, with the question is that in order to comply with GDPR, you normalize the information. So you remove a couple of things that could be important for the models that you are creating. So we don't do that. We use all the data as it is recorded on healthcare data system or healthcare system. So we don't do any data transformation on the model. Yes.
This is about the data that you use for training. What about the data when you do actual evaluation of the patient?
We don't do the typical separation between training and validation. On our concept, doesn't exist. Okay, so what exists is you have historical data that you compare with new data that comes into the model. So I think that's where your validation point is coming from. So yeah, so we have metrics that tells you how strong the nodes on the network are, how strongly connected they are, so we can quantify and validate all those steps and compare with the new data that comes from the patient. And we can say, or not we can say, we can put him on a certain stratification group. Okay, so. That patient is anonymous for the doctor, okay? That for the machine learning environment, that patient is an anonymous patient, but for the doctor, is not. Doctor, that's why I was saying that we have the models for the hospital in particular, and then when the doctor sees the patients, looks into the historical data and says, okay, for you, I would say that you. No. No, there is no. So what the doctor sees are the transformed models. He doesn't see the particularities of each of the patients that were used to generate those models.
No, but
But that's what we do nowadays. You know, so nowadays, where every time the doctor sees a new patient, he has a responsibility to keep that data safe. You know, so. The thing here is we are not, so there is this approach of replacement. There is a slide that we use where we explain what is our definition of AI. Our definition of AI is that we need to understand how humans take decisions, and then we don't even know now if it is possible to translate that to a machine. We don't know that. We are speculating a lot of how to do it, but we don't know how to do it. So our point is that we would like to accelerate the decision-making process. That's what we're doing here. So this, what we do is we stratify. Imagine, for example, cancer screening, for example, cancer screening. So if we can use this, something like this, to do cancer screening, just using clinical features, because that's what we use, you accelerate the process. Of course, that the decision-making process is not the machine that is going to do it. It's the doctor, because it's his responsibility to do it. But at the same time, instead of spending 10 minutes, thinking about what could be what the patient has, he has an automatic answer that says, oh, this is how historically this patient would look like in compared to the history, and gets a smart answer, if we can. The other day I was at a conference, and one of the panelists was annoyed with me because I said that what we have nowadays is apparent intelligence, not artificial intelligence. So what we think that our machines are intelligent, but they are not. They just demonstrate, or they I don't know. I would say that they make us believe that they are intelligent. So we are not replacing the decision process of the doctor, or taking the responsibility or removing that responsibility from the doctor decision making process. Any additional questions?
I'm afraid we need.
Yes, we are. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. For asking
yes,
questions.
sorry for keeping you for lunch.
For
thank you for being here.
One remark from Sano.
Yeah.